Okay, let me ask you something. Have you ever found yourself pacing around your kitchen, having a full-blown, super detailed argument with someone, but, entirely in your head? Well, if you're nodding along right now, you have definitely come to the right place. In this explainer, we're going to dive into the hidden psychology behind this habit and figure out why our minds build these incredibly elaborate alternate worlds. All right, so let's get right into it. Section 1, a world in your head. And the most important thing to get right off the bat is that you are so not alone in this. If you're constantly creating these fake situations, you might start to worry, Like, am I just spacing out all the time? Am I kind of losing touch with what's real? But here's the thing. Psychology tells a totally different story. This habit isn't a sign that you're crazy or that something's wrong with you. Not at all. It's actually a pretty sophisticated and deeply ingrained coping mechanism your brain has been working on. So that begs the question, right? Why? Why does our brain do this? Well, the main reason, it all comes down to a desperate search for a sense of control. I mean, just look at this contrast. Real life, it's messy, it's unpredictable, it can be just overwhelming. But in your head, oh, that's where you're in charge. You have total control. You know exactly what to say, you win the argument, and, this is a big one, you finally feel completely understood. It's like a little safe harbor your brain builds when the real world gets to be too much. And there's actually a name for this. Psychologists call it mental stimulation. It's kind of like your brain is running a simulation. It's rehearsing for that tough conversation or that big presentation, trying to make you feel a little more prepared and a lot less anxious about whatever's coming next. But, and this is a big but, there's a trap. Your mind can get so used to the perfect, predictable control it has in your imagination that it actually starts to prefer it over the messiness of real life. And that pull can be incredibly strong. And that leads us perfectly into our next section. Because this whole habit, it's often fueled by something even deeper. We're talking about underlying anxiety and, well, emotional needs that just aren't being met. This quote just nails it, doesn't it? What if this happens? If this is something you do a lot, chances are your anxiety levels are pretty high. Your brain gets stuck on this what-if treadmill, just running in circles, trying to game out every single possible bad thing that could happen. And here's the kicker. This whole defense mechanism, it usually backfires. Instead of actually preparing you, it just gets you stuck. You're trapped in these totally exhausting loops of overthinking, playing out the worst-case scenario on repeat. So you have to ask, right? If it's so draining, why does it feel kind of good? Sometimes even better than reality? Well, the answer is all about the emotional gaps it's trying to plug. Think about it. In those scenarios you create, your brain is literally manufacturing the feelings you might be missing out on. You get to feel truly listened to. You get the attention you deserve. You feel valued. So if you're feeling ignored at your job or maybe taken for granted at home, your brain's like, don't worry, I got this, and it creates a world where you're not. And that emotional payoff, that's powerful stuff. It's exactly what takes this from a simple coping mechanism to a really ingrained habit. Which brings us to our next section, the habit loop. This is where we see how this whole thing can start to feel, well, almost like an addiction. It's a classic habit loop, really. It breaks down into 3 simple steps. First, you've got your trigger. Maybe you're stressed out or lonely or just bored. Then, the action. You dip into one of those fake scenarios. And boom, the reward. You get this instant hit of relief and comfort. And that cycle, it just repeats and gets stronger every single time. Okay, so for our last section, let's try to look at this whole thing from a different angle. This isn't a flaw in your personality. Think of it more like your mind's secret shield. It's this deep-seated, maybe a little misguided, but fundamental attempt to keep you safe. The problem, though, is when that shield turns into a fortress that you can't get out of. You start to lose focus on what's actually happening around you. Real conversations feel hard. And eventually, you might find that you're just way more comfortable inside your own head than you are out in the real world. When this gets really extreme, it can be linked to something called maladaptive daydreaming. And that's just a term for when this inner world of yours really starts to get in the way of your day-to-day life, your job, your friendships, your relationships. But look, if you only take one single thing away from all of this, please let it be this. Your mind is not your enemy. It isn't broken, it's not trying to sabotage you, it's just trying really, really hard to protect you. So here's the bottom line. Your brain cooked up this whole strategy to give you comfort and control, to give you the emotional stuff it thought you were missing. It's a shield that was made with the best intentions, but maybe it's just gotten a little too heavy to carry around anymore. And just understanding that, that's a huge first step. So the real question for you now is, knowing this is just your mind's way of protecting you, how are you going to choose to engage with the world? How will you decide to maybe lower that shield just a little and step back into the messy, unpredictable, but very, very real world?